We're diving deep into Sri Lankan history today.
Oh, yeah.
And, folks have been asking us to go beyond the usual story, the stuff we all learned in school.
Right.
We're going to dig into some really fascinating research from the Sri Lankan historian Jayaratne Pathirarachchi.
Yeah, his work is really interesting.
And he's making some pretty bold claims.
Bold claims, yeah. Backed up by evidence, though.
Yeah, all backed up by evidence from ancient inscriptions. And it's really making us rethink what we thought we knew about the history of Sri Lanka.
It's really, it raises a fundamental question. Like, what if what we accept as the history of Sri Lanka is, incomplete?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pathirarachchi suggests that, that popular narrative, the one that everyone knows, that's based heavily on these texts, like the Mahavamsa,
right,
could be missing some pieces.
Yeah, like key pieces of the puzzle.
Crucial pieces.
So you're telling me my history textbook could have gotten it wrong?
Well, it's possible.
Okay, I am intrigued. So where is he?
Yeah.
Where is this historian finding this different evidence?
He's focused on ancient inscriptions.
Okay.
Which provide a tangible record of the past.
Yeah.
They're not...
Right. First-hand accounts, basically.
Yeah, first-hand accounts etched in stone,
Oh, wow.
And these inscriptions often contradict the traditional narrative that's presented in the Mahavamsa.
Right.
And they suggest that there's...
So there's another side to the story.
A lot more to the story.
Yeah, this is way more exciting than anything I remember from school.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we're talking about first-hand accounts etched in stone.
Yeah.
Potentially revealing a whole other side to Sri Lankan history. This is big.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff.
Yeah. All right, so what else is different?
Well, one of the first things that Pathirarachchi points out is this destruction of these ancient Atua, which were these Sinhalese commentaries.
Right.
That potentially contained a different version of history.
A whole different version?
Yeah, a whole different perspective on Sri Lanka's past.
So, we could be missing a whole perspective because of this one event.
Potentially, yeah.
Makes you wonder what other historical narratives might be missing.
Totally. What else don't we know?
What don't we know? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So what else does he highlight?
So let's take the origin story of Vijaya.
Okay.
Who's considered the ancestor of the Sinhalese people.
Okay.
According to the Mahavamsa, he was a prince banished from India, but Pathirarachchi points out some, let's say, unconventional.
Unconventional. Okay.
Yeah.
So did he forget to pack
aspects of this story?
Snacks for his journey or something?
Not quite.
All right.
The Mahavamsa claims that Vijaya's parents were a lion and a princess.
Wait, lion and a princess? Okay, this is already getting...
And did Vijaya also married his own sister?
Hold on. He married his sister.
Yeah. Okay,
so it raises a lot of questions about Sinhalese identity and whether the accounts are entirely accurate.
A lion and a princess?
Yeah.
That's not your typical family tree.
Right.
Is this guy a character from a myth or a history textbook?
It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Right?
It does make you wonder.
It makes you question the reliability of the sources, Pathirarachchi's basically saying, don't just take the Mahavamsa at face value.
Yeah.
Let's look for more concrete evidence.
So he's using these inscriptions to piece together a different story.
Yeah, a more complete story, hopefully.
So how is he even able to read these ancient inscriptions?
Well,
did they have Ancient Sinhalese 101 back in college?
He's dedicated years to deciphering these inscriptions.
Okay.
He's one of the few experts who can actually read
wow.
this ancient form of Sinhalese, which is actually closer to languages like Magadhi or Prakrit than modern Sinhala. So it's he's got this superpower to unlock these secrets from the past. That's so cool.
It's pretty amazing.
Okay, so if these inscriptions are telling a different story, why haven't more people studied them?
That's a good question. The resources for learning to read these inscriptions are extremely limited.
Oh. So it's we've got a library full of knowledge, but nobody knows how to read the books.
It's like having this huge library of historical knowledge.
Wow.
And nobody knows how to read it.
This is why his work is so groundbreaking, then.
It's really incredible what he's doing, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what kind of specific discrepancies
for example,
has he found between the inscriptions and the Mahavamsa?
He's found contradictions in the accounts of King Divanampiya, who's a really central figure in that traditional narrative of Buddhism's arrival in Sri Lanka.
Right, of course.
The inscriptions offer a different perspective on his reign and his role in Sri Lankan history.
Okay, so we've got these inscriptions challenging this accepted timeline of events.
Yeah.
What other, fascinating details has he found?
Well, he discovered this curious linguistic detail in the inscriptions.
Okay.
The frequent use of the word put.
Put.
It might seem like a small thing, but it's actually a significant clue.
A clue to what I'm all ears.
He connects put to the Sanskrit pita.
Okay.
And the Sinhala piya, both meaning father.
Okay.
And he suggests that this linguistic link points to a really deep-rooted lineage within Sri Lanka that predates Indian influence.
So he's saying that Sri Lankan culture isn't...
It challenges the idea that Sinhalese culture is solely derived from India.
Wow. So this put is like a linguistic fingerprint suggesting a stronger independent cultural heritage.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful claim based on one word.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Wow. Are there any specific examples of this put suffix?
Absolutely. He's found names like Abaya put and Tisa put. And keep in mind, these are just a few examples from the thousands of inscriptions that have been discovered.
Thousands. Wow.
Yeah.
So this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Who knows what other revelations are hidden in these ancient texts.
There could be a whole hidden history of Sri Lanka.
Potentially.
Just waiting to be uncovered.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Okay, so what's the most mind-blowing thing that he's found?
Well, he claims to have found evidence suggesting that the Buddha might have actually been born in Sri Lanka.
Buddha born in Sri Lanka. The Buddha born in Sri Lanka. Okay, we're back, and I'm still processing that last little bit of information.
Yeah, no, right.
The Buddha born in Sri Lanka, that's a huge...
It's a big one.
Claim.
It's definitely a thought-provoking claim.
Yeah.
And he doesn't just, throw this out there.
Right.
He backs it up with multiple lines of evidence from these inscriptions.
Okay, walk me through it. What has he found that supports this?
So for starters, he's found numerous inscriptions with variations of the Buddha's name.
Okay.
Like Gautama or Gautama.
Gotcha.
And these aren't just isolated findings.
Right.
These are often located near signs of a well-developed civilization.
Okay.
Ancient settlements and irrigation systems.
So he's painting a picture of Sri Lanka as a potential birthplace of Buddhism, not just a recipient of it.
Exactly.
Wow.
It challenges that long-held assumption that Buddhism originated in India.
Right.
And then spread outward.
Yeah.
And the evidence doesn't stop there.
Okay.
Pathirarachchi also points to inscriptions at places like Sithilpawa.
Okay.
Which seem to link specific individuals and locations to stories from Buddhist scriptures.
Okay, that's pretty convincing stuff. So are these connections just interpretations, or is there something more concrete?
Well, he also points out the linguistic connections between ancient Sinhalese and Pali, which was the language spoken during the Buddha's time. Right. So this shared linguistic heritage suggests a deeper cultural connection than the traditional narrative acknowledges.
This would completely change our understanding of Buddhism's origins.
Yeah. Potentially.
And spread?
Yeah.
If his theory is right?
It really makes you think.
It does. So how many of these Gautama inscriptions are we talking about?
He's found 18 so far.
18?
Think about that. 18 inscriptions.
Wow.
Bearing the Buddha's name.
And are these all in the same location? Or
they're spread throughout.
Spread throughout Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's only published research on 3 of them?
3 out of 18?
Yeah.
And there could be more out there.
And he believes there are potentially thousands more waiting to be discovered.
This is incredible.
It's really amazing.
It makes you wonder what other secrets are still hidden in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, it's like a whole new chapter of history is waiting to be written.
Yeah. Okay, so this discovery about the potential birthplace of Buddhism isn't the only thing challenging our understanding of ancient Sri Lanka?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Remember the Seminala Wewo project?
Remind me what that was.
That was a large-scale irrigation and hydropower project.
Right, okay.
But during the excavations, they found evidence of iron smelting, dating back 28,000 years.
28,000 years?
Yeah.
That's mind-boggling. What are the implications of a discovery like that?
I know it suggests that Sri Lanka possessed this advanced metallurgical knowledge far earlier than previously thought.
Yeah.
We're talking about technological advancements that could rival or even surpass those of other ancient civilizations.
So this challenges the idea that Sri Lanka was solely dependent
it seems like.
On India for its technological progress.
They were innovators in their own right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is really making me rethink what I thought I knew about Sri Lanka.
It's fascinating stuff.
It is fascinating. Okay, but how does the traditional story of Mahindu bringing Buddhism to the island fit into all of this?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's one that Pathirarachchi tackles head on.
Okay.
His research suggests there's actually a lack of solid evidence to support Mahindu's role.
Wait, seriously?
In introducing Buddhism to Sri Lanka.
But that's like Buddhism 101, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's his explanation for why this story is so widespread?
A big one.
Yeah.
But he believes that the Mahindu story may have emerged much later.
Okay.
Potentially influenced by colonial interpretations.
Okay.
These interpretations often emphasize Sri Lanka's cultural dependence on India.
Right.
Which conveniently fit into certain political agendas at the time.
So he's suggesting that this narrative was potentially shaped by outside forces to fit a particular worldview. That's a pretty bold.
It is. He even points to this popular history book from 1912 that really popularized the Mahindu story.
Wow.
And it just kind of solidified it in the public consciousness.
It's amazing how a single book can have such a lasting impact.
I know. It's incredible.
On our understanding of history.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder how many other truths we accept are based on these narratives that might not tell the whole story.
It makes you think you really have to question the sources.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always question the source. Dig deeper. Look for different perspectives.
So it seems like Pathirarachchi is really challenging the status quo.
He is.
With his research.
Has this been met with any resistance?
There have been mixed reactions, as you might expect.
Yeah, of course.
Some people are incredibly enthusiastic about his work,
particularly
those who are open to these alternative perspectives on history, and those who feel that Sri Lanka's contributions have been overshadowed.
Yeah.
But, there are also those who are very deeply invested in those traditional narratives. And they might view his research as a threat to that established historical authority.
That makes sense. It's hard to have your long-held beliefs challenged.
It's like finding out your favorite childhood story wasn't entirely true.
Exactly.
Yeah. But even if people disagree with Pathirarachchi's conclusions, I think his work forces us to engage in a more critical dialogue about history and how it's interpreted.
Yeah.
And that in itself is valuable.
I agree completely. It's fascinating how one historian can spark such a debate and make us rethink what we thought was settled history.
Yeah.
So what about Pathirarachchi himself? What's driving him to pursue this alternative history so passionately?
From what we understand, he's really dedicated to uncovering the truth about Sri Lanka's past. He seems driven by a sense of justice and a desire to correct these historical inaccuracies that he believes have really downplayed Sri Lanka's significance in the world.
It's inspiring to see someone so dedicated to their research.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Even when it means challenging conventional wisdom and facing pushback.
Yeah, he's a brave guy.
Yeah. If someone wanted to delve deeper into his work, where should they start?
His books are definitely a great starting point.
Okay.
He's written extensively on these topics.
Good.
He's even written a guide on deciphering Sinhalese inscriptions.
Oh, wow.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, if you're really interested in getting into the nitty-gritty, that's the book for you.
I bet there are online resources.
Oh, for sure.
And communities where people can connect with others who are passionate about exploring alternative perspectives on Sri Lankan history.
Absolutely. There are tons of forums and groups dedicated to discussing these topics and sharing research.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a really vibrant and growing community of individuals who are eager to challenge that conventional thinking and delve deeper into Sri Lanka's fascinating past.
Okay, so we've been talking about this advanced civilization in Sri Lanka thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
But what happened to it?
Right.
Why don't we hear more about it in the mainstream historical narrative?
That's a great question. That's a question that historians are still trying to answer definitively.
Okay.
There are several theories out there.
Okay.
Some suggest natural disasters, like tsunamis, potential invasions, or internal conflicts that may have led to its decline.
Okay.
Some researchers even believe that climate change,
oh, wow,
possibly resulting in severe droughts or other environmental shifts, might have played a role.
So it's still a bit of a mystery.
For now.
Okay.
But, ongoing research and new archaeological discoveries may shed more light on the fate of this ancient civilization in the future.
It's exciting to think about what they might uncover.
I know. It's really fascinating to think about.
Yeah, it seems like with every new discovery, the story of Sri Lanka becomes even more intriguing.
It does.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
If we entertain the possibility that Sri Lanka had this sophisticated civilization, largely independent of India's influence, what other historical narratives might need a second look?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what other stories are we missing?
Yeah.
Whose voices have been silenced or overlooked throughout history?
It's like we need to constantly re-examine the narratives we've been taught.
Yeah.
And be open to the possibility that there's more to the story than we initially realized.
Exactly.
Wow, we have covered so much in this deep dive into Sri Lankan history.
We have.
From challenging that traditional narrative to uncovering those hidden linguistic clues and exploring the possibility of Sri Lanka as the Buddha's birthplace.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
It's been an incredible journey, and it really highlights how much there is to learn.
Oh, yes, so much.
And how much history is still waiting to be uncovered.
Absolutely.
Pathirarachchi's work has opened up this fascinating new way of looking at Sri Lanka's past.
Yeah, for sure. It challenges us to think differently.
Yeah, and it's made me realize that what we learn in textbooks is often just one version of the story.
One perspective.
It makes you wonder what other historical narratives might need a second look.
Yeah, what other voices haven't been heard?
What other voices haven't been heard, yeah.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
History is often told from the perspective of those in power.
Of course.
And the voices of those who challenge the dominant narrative can be easily overlooked or silenced.
Pathirarachchi's work is a reminder to question everything.
Absolutely.
To dig deeper and seek out those alternative perspectives.
Question everything. Dig deeper.
It's like he's saying, don't just accept what you've been told.
Right.
Go out and discover it for yourself.
Exactly. That's the spirit.
Yeah, that's what makes this deep dive so exciting.
It's not just about learning facts and dates.
Right.
It's about engaging with history in a critical and thoughtful way.
Yeah.
Recognizing that history is an ongoing conversation. It's constantly evolving as new evidence and interpretations emerge.
So where do we go from here? For someone listening who's completely captivated by all of this, what would you recommend as a next step?
Well, diving into Pathirarachchi's books is a must.
Of course.
He lays out his research and arguments in detail.
Right, and he provides a guide for those who are interested in learning how to read those ancient Sinhalese inscriptions.
He does. He literally wrote the book on it.
Yeah, he wrote the book on how to decipher these historical treasures.
It's amazing.
I bet there are also online resources and communities.
Oh, yeah, tons.
Where people can connect.
There are forums and groups dedicated to discussing these topics and sharing research.
This whole deep dive has been mind-blowing.
It has.
It's made me realize that history is far more complex and fascinating
for sure
than I ever imagined.
Absolutely. It's like we've only just scratched the surface of what there is to know.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listener with a final thought.
Okay.
If Pathirarachchi's research is correct, and Sri Lanka had this sophisticated civilization independent of Indian influence, what does that tell us about the way we view history?
It challenges us to question the assumptions we often make about the spread of knowledge and culture.
Okay.
We tend to think of history as a linear progression.
Right.
With ideas and innovations flowing from one dominant civilization to others.
Right.
But what if it's far more complex and interconnected than that?
Yeah. What if there were multiple centers of innovation and knowledge throughout history, each with its own unique contributions?
Exactly.
It makes you rethink that whole Eurocentric view of history that we've often been taught.
For sure. It challenges those traditional power structures of knowledge.
To our listener, we encourage you to keep questioning.
Yes.
Keep exploring and keep diving deep.
Keep learning.
You never know what amazing discoveries you might make.
Absolutely.
This is just the beginning of an incredible journey.
It is.